Your normal voice, or you're speaking sound?
No, I'm okay. I just hear a lot of. Is there some echo? Because I hear echo, but if others don't, then I'm okay with
You
it.
don't hear echo, but you and you know that's a little thing. What you're hearing here is a direct connection, okay? And what you're hearing from there is going through Bluetooth, which means there's a little bit of delay. Okay, so you're getting, this is the problem. We have multiple different systems. You're gonna have.
But the sound is okay in the
It's
back.
fine. It's not loud enough. So I'm just wondering whether. So are you speaking a normal voice? That's my question.
I'm speaking with my normal voice.
We
Should
will try our
I
best.
should I bring it a little closer?
Can?
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. That would be
Okay.
No, we don't hear any echo, so you're okay with that one.
Yeah, no, I hear a slight echo, but it doesn't bother me. What I'm worried about is if there is an echo in the back. Okay, if that's the case then.
I'm in the back, and actually it's kind of fun. Because we cannot stream, by the way, because Wi-Fi is very poor. Even the dedicated Wi-Fi, very low. Cannot stream. But that's
Not
okay.
streaming?
We told them there is no streaming. We record and play back.
Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahabhiyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Dakshinamurtaye Madhyam Shriyam Medham Pragyam Prayachha Swaha. So, as I had mentioned, we are going to look at some individual concepts which are quite basic in the beginning, but good to review because we don't really think about them in our daily lives, and in the process of not thinking about them in our daily lives, we tend to get lost. So even the basics are important to review. So let's start with the most fundamental basic, which is the first one. By the way, one other thing I should mention, and in fact even Kumud doesn't know this, I've made a lot of changes in the concepts from what you have, because this was all frozen about, 4 days ago because of printing. And I have continued to think some more in terms of how to sequence it. So some changes will come, but you can make a note of that in your paper and pencil. So the most fundamental thing that we should think about is, what are we all doing in life? Who are we and what are we seeking? So these fundamental things are important for us to keep in mind. Because if you forget it, you lose the sense of what is right, what is wrong. And this is true even for people that have been studying. Obviously, if you're not introduced to Vedanta, then you can be excused that you're not sure what life is all about. But even people that have been told that this is what it is important to just keep everything else in perspective. It reminds me, I'm I'm sure most of you are from India. I remember when I used to go on long trains from Amritsar to Bihar, where my parents were. Sometimes you go into these major stations like Kanpur, Varanasi, where the train stops for half hour. Because they have to, in the old days, they used to get new coal into the engines and so on. So for half hour, you're free to roam around. And so you'd get a cup of coffee, then you go to these shops to look at where what's selling and so on and so forth, toys, books. But you'll never forget that in the next half hour, this train is going to leave. So even though you are moving around, talking and so on, you're always looking at the time. And of course, there is a whistle to do that. And you do not forget that you have to go somewhere. Exactly the same situation is. That sometimes we are very busy with life. And it seems like we are lost, but we are not lost. We are just taking time to make sure. If you know these, if you don't know them, then you can really be lost. This is the thing. Fundamental nature of all beings. Important thing to see that everyone in nature rests at what they are. Like for instance, even I would say a stick, forget about human beings. A stick, if you bend it and it doesn't want to be bent, it just straightens itself. Same thing is true in the dog's tail. You can try to straighten it, but the dog's tail has a certain curvature that it feels very comfortable in. What is our natural state? This is what we need to know. And this is why we are striving in some form or the other to regain our natural state. What is our natural state? As you know, it has three aspects. One of them is to be alive. And not just even to be alive, but just to be. We don't want to disappear. That's our natural state. It is not natural for us to feel that I'm going to be gone. I remember a conversation I had with Swami Dayanandji one time. I said, Swamiji, it's very funny. Most people don't talk about death in their lives. We really just observe, because it's a very funny thing that one day we feel we are going to die and it seems like we are going to disappear. But the very interesting thing I find, I remember talking this to Swamiji, is that how come people are not talking about it, worried about it, and so on. And he and I both concluded the same. I had a feeling and he confirmed it. He says, you know why it is? Because deep down below, we don't think we are going to die. It's not going to happen. We are confused about what's going to happen about next life, this, that, or the other. But there is a very feeling that it's going to be okay. Somehow or the other, it will be okay. They had done a survey in India at one time. An average person in India, if you ask even a complete villager who has never even gone into school and ask them, what do you think about death and life? They'll all say, we'll be alive. This life is just a short one. They don't say that. Nobody has told them anything. So this is very natural. But we do want to stay alive. So much so, this is such a funny thing to see. Whenever there is a group picture, everybody wants to be in it. Have you ever noticed that? I've seen crazy people, they all just come and say, can I also, wait, wait for me, I'm also coming. You know why? Because you feel that I may die, but at least my picture will still be there. This is all a reflection on the fact, on one of the three things. I want to be. The second thing is, so this is what is called Sat, Satyam. Satyam means to be, as we will talk about in more detail as we go along. The second one is that not only do I want to be alive, but I want to be aware that I am alive. Because you can ask somebody, all right, we'll make you alive, but you're going to be in coma for the next 2 years. Will you ever accept it? I don't want to be in coma. And in fact, this is the thing, this is a very important thing to see. This is why we wake up in the morning. Because even though deep sleep is very restful and very calming and very peaceful, I am not aware of the fact that I am peaceful. And I want to be aware. Even though I am not fully well, I get up for that reason. This is a very important one. And so, this is a very natural thing to do, is to say that I am aware. So this is an important thing. The third thing is I want to be happy. By the way, the second thing is what is called Chit Swarupam, Jnanam, Satyam Jnanam. The third one is, not only do I want to be alive, not only do I want to be aware, I want to be happy. This is, in fact, even more important than anything else. I want to be happy. And in order to be happy, of course, you have to be alive and to be aware. This is a very interesting thing. How can you know that you are happy unless you know that you are alive? And in fact, this is why people commit suicide. It's just amazing how many suicides. I saw that statistic somewhere. I think it's something like 10,000 people commit suicide every day. It is mind-boggling. You know why? I don't want to be alive and I don't want to be aware unless I'm happy. And in committing suicide also there is a reflection of the fact that I want to be alive and I want to be aware and I want to be happy. But not here. Not in this, nothing seems to create a sense of happiness in me here. There must be a better way. So these are the three things that characterize a human being. All beings actually, but especially the human beings. So this is the fundamental nature of everyone. So let's make just make sure this is what I'm striving for. This is what my life is all about. This is the fundamental nature of me. One of my favorite verses, which is given in the reference number 43, is from Advaita Makaranda, verse number 2. Ahamasmi sadabhami kadachit nahamapriyaha brahmaivaham atasiddham satchidananda lakshanam. just summarizes the whole Advaita Vedanta so well. It says, Aham asmi, I am, sadabhami. So this sadabhami we have to discover. This is where we're going to study this in more detail. Aham asmi also, it's not clear to me. Sadabhami is also not clear. So this verse is actually uttered by a person who has understood everything. So this is from a Jivan Mukta. But the Jivan Mukta is an aspiration for us. This is what I want to be and I'm going to be. Ahamasmi sadabhami kadachit naham apriyaha. And we will come to that in a minute. Anyway, this is just an expression of the same fact that our fundamental nature is Satchidananda. And the second verse of this verse, the second line of this verse says, this is also an important thing to see. This is the nature of Ishvara. This is the nature of Brahman. This is the nature of God. What is the nature of God? Aham asmi sadabhami kadachit naham apriya. This is my nature. And this is a very fundamental thing that we will talk about it. The search for Ishvara and the search for the self is one and the same. One and the same. There is no difference. No difference. This is not understood. But hopefully as we go through the next 2 days, we will clarify this further. Oftentimes, in fact, I would say, somebody has pointed this out very beautifully. I was talking about that in the Saturday class. Someone said, hey, do you want to be happy in the morning? There's a survey done. Sometimes, there is a survey. Who are you going to vote for? Kamala Harris or for Trump? So these surveys are done. So supposing there's a survey which says, hey, we are trying to find out more about you. What kind of a person you are. Do you want to be happy in the morning or do you want to be happy in the evening? You say, what a silly question that it is. Okay, forget about that. Let me ask you the next question. You want to be happy inside the house or outside the house? He says, I've had it. You are asking one silly question after the other. I'm not going to answer that. Of course I want to be heaven in all the place. He says, aha. Can I give you what my conclusion is about you? He says, okay, what is the conclusion? You are really seeking God. What? I just answered some simple questions about I want to be happy here, I want to be happy there. That is the nature of Ishvara. There is no point where the status of being Ishvara is away from all these things you talk about, Satchidananda. So you may not realize it. If you ask somebody, supposing you ask a survey, are you searching for God? No, I'm not searching for God, I'm just having breakfast. But do you search for God any time? He says, I don't know, I kind of think about God once in a while, but I really don't search for Him. You are searching for God whether you know it or not. How? Because I want to be like. Searching for God means what? This is also a very interesting thing that we could do. This is, there is a sect in Hinduism, there are 2 or 3 sects. One of them is Vaishnavas, people that, believe in Vishnu. So if you look at Vaishnavas, what they say? You don't want to be God, but you want to be close to Him and live with Him and be with Him. Vedanta goes even further and says, really, even, supposing you go to Vaikuntha and Vishnu is sitting there and you are next to, very close to, you are in the inner circle. You are in the inner circle of about, few people that are very close to it. This only happens very rarely, but you made it. Now you're sitting as close to Swami Dayananda used to picture this very well. Okay, you're sitting to Vaishnava. You're sitting next to Vishnu and says, oh, I'm so happy to have your darshan. So Vishnu also says, wonderful, wonderful. Sit quietly, sit quietly. How long are you going to sit? Or after a while, you've been sitting there for a while, sitting there for a while, sitting there for a while. Then you'll say, is there anything else that I want to do? I wonder how the elections are going. Have the 49ers won or not? Not going to happen. Your real goal is not to be sitting next to Ishvara, to be Ishvara. Ishvara means what? Total freedom. This is what Vedanta is saying. You want identity, my dear. You want identity. You don't even realize that you want identity. I'm not even telling you that you should, but you want identity. Because you want to be happy all the time, you want to be aware all the time, and you want to be alive all the time. So this is the nature that we are all seeking. Now there is a problem. The problem is we don't seem to be able to get it. We are not able to, don't criticize me by saying that I'm not thinking about God all the time. Don't criticize me that what am I doing, all that. But the fact of the matter is that you do not tell me that I am totally happy because I don't seem to get it. Why is that? This is what we have to see. We can get it partially, but not fully. This is the issue. So the whole feeling of this is what is called Paramartha. Paramartha means the real thing that we need is total freedom, not partial freedom. Partial freedom everybody is getting, it's one form or the other. But how do you get total freedom? This is what I want to know. This is what we have to see. Now, this is just one concept that we are done with it now, okay? And that is the fundamental nature of all living beings is to be Satchidananda. And the problem is I don't seem to be able to get it. So this is the thing. Let's go to the next thing. Do you have that? 3 things that can never be experienced by anyone? Is that there? No. Okay. All right. This I added. You don't have it. So if you can make a note of this in your paper or pencil, write it down if you have it. Otherwise you can see it later. So please make a note of this. There are, in all these 2 days of 6 classes, in all those discussions, there are 2 things that I would like to underscore, that I think certainly changed my life, and I think it can change yours, unless you already have it. What I'm going to talk about is one of those two. The other one, I will talk about it tomorrow. But this is the first one. The title of this is 3 Things That Can Never Be Experienced by Anyone at any time. 3 things. First is, so all 3 things comprise a single thing that I am asking you to think about. The other one, I'll do that tomorrow. These 3 things are, you can never experience that I am not there. You can never experience that. This cannot be disproved even by Ishvara. You remember that example that I gave, that give me one head? If you were to give a prayer to Ishvara and say, "Hey Bhagavan, I ask for one thing. Can you please make me not there?" He will say, "No, I can't tell you. I can't give you that." This is a very important thing. You cannot ever disappear. Never. You may think you will disappear. Certainly you have questions, before I was born I was not there, which is a total false assumption. Totally false assumption. But at least you believe that before that you ask your mom, "Hey mom, was I there before I was born?" And she says, "No, you weren't there. You only dropped into our life when I became pregnant." So you say, "See, my mother also says that I was not there, and father also says, everybody else says, so I'm not there." You know what the problem is? Even they don't know. Even they don't know. So you're asking a wrong person. They also think they were born, you also think you were born, and so on. So to say that I was not there, you don't know. I was going to give this example much later on, but this I don't mind. I'll just do that now. I'll go back and forth. So there is a story about a prince of a kingdom where it was a small kingdom. And there was a king and a prince, a young boy who was like 5 years old at that time. So these gang of robbers ransacked the palace and killed the king. And took this young boy, kidnapped him, and took him away into their own village, and where they roam around in their own laws, and just completely in this context they are called bhil. Bhil means that they are living in forests and so on and so forth. So the young boy, they kidnapped him, and he also became one of the robbers. And he was trained to be a robber, and so this is how it is, and so on. So one day, about 12, 13 years later, these robbers were apprehended. You know that this is happening in India where they have Naxalites. They're rounding up all the Naxalites, and really because they're creating a havoc, killing people, this, that, or the other. So there's a big thing. So something like that in the old days. So finally the government, got hold of these robbers and rounded them up. And one of them was this young man who was 15 years old. And he didn't look like his complexion was different, his mannerisms. This one guy said, I wonder if this is the same guy who was kidnapped when he was 5 years old. So they said, that's a possibility. But they asked this guy, he says, how long have you been here? He says, I've been here forever, I don't know. I don't remember any kidnapping or anything like that. This is who I am. They said, come here, can you show us your blood? They took their blood, in the modern one, and not in the old days. And they compared the DNA. And they said, my God, he's the same guy. He's the same guy. So this is the thing. So now, here's the situation. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew, including himself. He also didn't know that he was there. And everybody just thinks that he is just a robber. He was a prince. So here's the same thing. You ask around, hey, you ask your mom, was I ever born? You say, yeah, you were born. You ask your neighbors and so on, do you think I was always there? He says, what are you talking about? Who have you been listening to? What kind of drinks have you been taking? This is so ridiculous. Everybody was born, everybody is going to die. There is nothing much deal about it. Who told you this? So you know what Shastra has to, this what DNA is, the DNA analysis is the Shastra. And I'll define what the word Shastra is in a minute. But the Shastra says, no, I have the proof. This is what is called proof. There is a thing called proof. This is an important word. So, this is the word proof means pramana. In Vedanta called pramana. So DNA is a proof. And now you can say, well, people didn't know. You have fellow robbers, they all feel that we are all robbers. And there's nobody is a prince. So it is excusable that they all feel that. But they don't have the proof. Shastra says, I don't care what everybody says. I have a proof. What that proof is, we will give it to you. This is what this teaching is all about. This is the proof. Until that proof is given, you should be excused that you are just a mortal. That you are immortal, you don't know. Nobody knows. This is the problem. Nobody knows. And truth is not by majority. It is a very funny situation. In this life, in this world, in this Prithvi, how many people do we have? We have about 8 billion, I believe, is some number, 8 billion. So if you took a survey of 8 billion people and say, are you mortal or are you immortal? 99.999999% people will say, we are mortal. You cannot declare that. This is like all the Bhils saying, we are all robbers, we are all robbers, we are all robbers. They don't have the proof. They're missing the DNA. So truth is not done by majority. Anyway, going back to what cannot be proven, there is no proof of the fact that I am not there. The issue is when you say that I am not there, that means I may be not there. Right now I'm there. I don't disagree with that. But whether I can stay or not, this is not clear to me. Not clear to me. How can you say that I always will be there? So the first of the three things that you should think about, this is a very important thing, is you cannot prove you are not there. You know, Swami Akhandananda says, in order to know that I am not there, you have to be there. Just look at it. This is a very, very important thing. Honestly, this is going to be a very common theme, that Jnanam, Chit Swarupam, is the final authority. I'm going to repeat this many, many times in different contexts. This is the understanding of Vedanta. That Chit Swarupam, the awareness, is the final authority. And even to know that I'm not there, you have to be there. And you can never not be there. The fact of the matter is, you're always there. The second one is, remember the three things on this? I am not there, you cannot prove, you cannot experience. See, there are two aspects to this. Proof is one thing, the other one is a personal experience. You can never experience that I am not there. You try to experience this. Okay, tell me if you have an experience that I am not there. Those would be words. It has no reality to it. You cannot disprove. As I said, even Ishvara cannot make you disappear. You know why? Because that is the nature of Ishvara. For you to disappear means Ishvara has to disappear. Cannot happen. You are. You always are. You may not realize you always are, but you always are. The second thing is, I am inert. I am inert. I am not conscious. I am not conscious. You cannot prove that. You cannot experience that. You cannot experience that, you cannot prove that. Again, the same thing. In order to prove that you are inert, you have to be aware. That awareness, as we will see, is not a quality of yours. It is not your awareness is not your quality. Because for something to be your quality means you have to be someone that has that quality. It is not like that. Awareness is not your quality, it is your nature. This is who you are. Awareness is, see, this is why I think the people that have been listening to me in my classes, and this is I learned also from Swami Akhandananda. And one of the things that was really appealing to me, and I was talking about his Hindi speaking and so on, and I tell you, I'm very fortunate that his Hindi is not simple Bazari Hindi. It is all highly Sanskritized Hindi. And so all the technology of the words, etc., all are from Sanskrit. But the grammar is easy. And one of the things I learned from him is not to use the word, he doesn't use English anyway, but this was something my postulation, is not to use the word consciousness. It is not the right word for me. Why not? Because the word consciousness means a quality. Consciousness means a sort of like a state. This is what happens when you say, I fell down, I lost consciousness. I lost consciousness. Or just like, for example, supposing you are in anesthesia. So you say, and it happens all the time. You talk to people, you had surgery, and he says, yeah, this was a long surgery, and I was unconscious for 6 hours under anesthesia. So the word consciousness means some kind of an external quality that is imposed on you, that you possess perhaps, not the truth. The true word for Chaitana, you guys use the word Chaitana, which I'll define Chaitana in a little bit more detail, is Jnanam, Chit Swarupa. So the Swarupa, and this is again another distinction we're going to make. I am just giving you, I don't know, we may end this today itself, I think. We may not even go tomorrow. I'm giving all the things I was planning to tell you, I'm telling you right now itself. So another thing is what is called the difference between Swarupa and Swabhava. The difference between Swarupa and Swabhava, we'll see that later on. I won't define that now. So, in the way consciousness is defined, it looks like it is a Swabhava. Swabhava means kind of like a personality. It is the Swarupa. It is your own nature. You cannot get rid of your own nature. You are what you are, fortunately. So even sleep cannot make you unconscious. You are conscious of nothing, that's all. But you are conscious. And death is nothing but sleep. There is very little difference between death and sleep. Very little difference. They are 99% the same, 1% difference. And the only difference is that when you wake up from sleep, you use the same paraphernalia as you had last night. When you wake up from death, you have to change the paraphernalia. You have to become a baby again, a lot of issues. That's it. You remain the same conscious person. Consciousness cannot be lost. So therefore, think about this. This first grouping is most important. You can never not be there. You can never be inert. The third one is more subtle and not as obvious, but still true. you can never experience a lack of love for yourself. Not possible. You can have a lack of love for others, but it's not possible for you to dislike yourself. If you feel you dislike yourself, it is with the things you are surrounding yourself with. You can say, I don't like, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have said that, I don't like it. So this is all about speech, about situations. That is okay. And even this, as I said, even the suicide is a love for yourself. It means what's happening to me I don't like. I can't believe that. That is also a kind of like a twisted view of the love for yourself. So now we can say, in all three things, this is what is called, there is a method in teaching called Anvaya Vyatireka. Anvaya means positive and Vyatireka means the negative. This is a Vyatireka example. I'll give you the Anvaya example in a minute. The Vyatireka example is, it is not possible for you to say, I am not there. It is not possible for you to say, I am inert. It is not possible for you to say, I don't love myself. The Anvaya is, I am always there. Sat Swarupoham. When you come to understand this, your job is over. And you will understand this, unless you already understand this. This is the truth which is inevitable. You will see this. I am Sat Swarupa. This is a very important thing. Nobody can deny that. No one. That you are. And the only thing that we have to do is to examine the stupidity of doubting it. This you have to do. This is what is called neti neti iti adesha. That it is, you're already there, but all the issues that cloud your own self-knowledge have to be taken care of. That's it. So the positive aspect of that is Aham Sat Swarupoham. Sat is not your swabhava, it's not your personality. It is your own nature. See this. Aham Chaitana Swarupoham. Aham Apriyaha. Never. I am Priya Rupam. So this is what this Advaita Vekaranta now can read that. Aham Asmi. I am. Sada Bhami. I am Chit Swarupam. Kadachit Naham Apriyaha. Never is the case that I dislike myself. This is what Brahman is. This is what Ishvara is. Brahma eva ahamasmi. This is a fact. So, whatever else you remember, don't remember, take, don't take, this is one of the two things You should write down, and not even write down, but keep it in your mind. Examine it. Poke holes into it if you want to. Send me some emails to say, I don't believe it. What you talked about, it doesn't make any sense to me. Okay? Do that if you want to. Cannot disprove it. This is a very important thing. And in fact, this is the end. If you understand it, you're done. You're done. That's it. Your whole life, goal of the life is over. That's freedom. That's moksha. And so the whole idea is just to remove your own doubts about the fact. But you need to know the fact. This needs to be pointed out. Instead, we can now go to the next concept. Where are we? 11:50. We go up to what? 12:30, right? 12:30, right? So this time I'll leave some for some questions also, and perhaps we'll do some meditation. So maybe let me teach for maybe 10-15 minutes more, and then I'll stop. So the next thing is approaches to this fulfillment. Fulfillment means moksha. Fulfillment means total. So when I use the word fulfillment in this context, what I mean is goal of total satisfaction, not partial. Complete freedom. Understanding who we are. And so that's what I use the word fulfillment. So what are our approaches for fulfillment? What do we do in our life? Very commonly, you already know that. So we have three main ones. One is, this is what is called Purushartha, which is Artha, Kama and Dharma, which is what is done in our teaching. Artha means you want to be secure to understand that I am. You don't want to disappear. You don't want any threats to yourself. That's why you live in safe areas, you live in safe homes, safety, and you want to maintain enough assets, money. In fact, interesting, you take insurance on things that insure you so that you are secure. This is what is called artha. So this is our first approach towards fulfillment. Okay? The second one is that once you have done so, you just want to find happiness. And the most common form of finding happiness is just having fun through various means, and through music or sex or eating. So this is what has to do with kama. So the kama means you're seeking pleasure. So this is the second approach that we take. The third approach we take is, which we discover somewhat late in life, which is to resolve into ethical living and to help others as well. This is a more mature thinking. Not everybody has that. But you begin to think that there is as much peace in helping others as it is to really gain things yourself. So this is all what is called dharma. So these are the three ones that we do. But then we find is that none of them really give me fulfillment. I can do all the three things to the best of my ability, but never to a point where they completely satisfy me. And this happens up to the end of your life. You get partial satisfaction, but if you were to interview the person who is dying and say, "Are you done? Were you done?" He'll say, "No. I did the best as I could, but I'm not done. I don't know what's happening. I'm gone. I'm going." So there is something very funny and almost, I would say, a cruel situation about that we are living in. What is the cruelty about it? We cannot give up the sense of fulfillment, and we cannot achieve fulfillment. This is so, you can call it funny, you can call it cruel, in fact. There's something not right about it. Because you can say, okay, forget about sense of fulfillment, just give it up. If you cannot achieve it, let's just give it up. No, I can't achieve. We cannot do that. As long as a person is alive, you are striving for fulfillment. And you cannot get it. There is a reason for it, and this is what Vedanta points out, as we will see. So one very quickly is the next point that I gave. The common, I said schools of thought, then I revised it, say common thoughtful suggestions for achieving fulfillment. It's the same thing. Means that what do we people do? So let me give you quickly a rundown of that. This is not exhaustive, but it is an important thing for us to study what people say. So what that means is, it's not just what you and I think personally, but scholars, people that have done research, who really believe in this and have a lot of following and so on. What do they say about it? So they are the following ones. One which is called Charvakaha. Charvakaha. So Charvakaha means Charu Vak Yasya in Sanskritam. Charu Vak Yasya, it is called Charvakaha. Means one whose speech sounds very pleasing to me. They are called Charvakaha. They say, don't beat your head around it. Enjoy life. Enjoy life, and then just be, when moksha will come, when you die. So life is full of problems, so do the best you can, and if you need to just cut corners and cheat and not pay taxes, do it. Do it. Just have fun. Okay? Don't worry about it. Don't try to be dharma and this and that and everything like that. Just have fun. Because life is very short, and you don't want to waste time, because who knows what's going to happen after death? Has anybody has anybody proven to you that you are the same person as last time? No. So this is all bunkum. Nothing happens to posterity and so on and so forth. It was interesting. Swami Makhandananda made this comment. He says, it seems like Charvakaha is a kind of like a small school of thought. The population we talk about, the 8 billion people, I would say 7.5 out of that are Charvakas. Everybody believes that, really. Deep down below you feel, it's very interesting. I saw this Western saying, which is funny. This is like 20 years ago. It says, life is a bitch and then we die. I thought that was really an interesting thing. He says, life is a bitch. It has so many problems, which means it just gets a lot of problems and so on. And somehow at the end of that, I'm very happy that it all ends. And we are done with, and who knows what happens after death. So Swami Akhandananda says, this is not a small school of thought, this is the majority school of thought. Okay, so that's the number one. And we have a long list of others. I'll start with Jainism. I don't know how I started with that, but he's given these examples that I borrowed it from one of his books. So Jainism. Jainism says that what you need to do in order to be happy is to keep on refining your mind by being very pure. And they are so good about this because they eat sattvic food, they don't hurt anybody, just wonderful people. So they're saying that you keep on refining your mind, and they also believe in rebirth. So they say this is not the only time in this life, you'll be reborn, and keep on refining, and in the end you'll become one of those realized souls, like there have been other Jainis that have done, and you can also become one of those. So this is their view of how to be happy and how to be. This is one thing. Then you have Buddhism. The word Buddhism again means is that there is no such thing as Atma, reality and this, that, Sat and Chit and Atma. This is bunkam. What it is these are just oscillations of the mind. And so all you have to do is to remove all thoughts from your mind. Just meditate and see the oscillations. And in the end, what you will see, there is nothingness. Absolutely nothing is left. No oscillations, no nothing, no outside, no inside. These are just thoughts. And the thoughts will resolve, and when they resolve, you will be free. Some funny thoughts. Anyway. Then there is yoga. Yoga is very interesting. What yogis say is, be a sakshi. Just be a drashta. And remove all drishya, all things from your thoughts. So all the Ashtanga yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pratyahara, etc., then savikalpa samadhi, and then nirvikalpa samadhi. Nirvikalpa samadhi means you are in a trance where you are just yourself and you don't have anything else that goes on. And if you are able to maintain it, you keep practicing it until it becomes very natural, you become free. This is their thinking. Okay? And we will talk about the defects in this thinking slowly. I'm running out of time, but I'm just giving you what their views are. Then there's two more, so I'll spend it. Yeah, two more. The next one, which I very briefly mentioned, is Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy. The Sankhya philosophy is very amazing. It says that there are two entities in this whole creation. One is Prakriti and one is Purusha. So the Prakriti is what is called nature, that has sattva, all the sattva guna, rajoguna, tamoguna, all these are different tendencies, and when they become imbalanced, then you create problems. If they are in balance, they don't bother you. But you are not the Prakriti, you are the Purusha. You are like, so they also have some concept of Atma. So they say you are the Atma, but there is an extrication of the Purusha from the Prakriti. Don't let it bother you. How can I not let it bother you? Just you do the analysis and you find that you are completely different from So in some way, this is kind of like the first stage of Advaita Vedanta. But it is a Dvaita. Dvaita means what? Dvaita means that I am Purusha, but what about this Prakriti? You don't worry about the Prakriti. When you die, then it won't bother you. Okay, so don't, you will actually be okay even before you die. This is their philosophy. We don't agree with that completely. We think that they have some ideas about it. Then there is finally bhakti. The bhakti means I can't figure it all out. This is too much for me. I need to resort to somebody greater than me. I need to have an Ishtadevata. And I just fall on their feet and say, you save me. And I sing your praises. I do chanting. I do yagas. I go to the temple. And I feel good about it. Because when I'm in the world, it all disturbs me. But when I am praying and I feel good. Tirtha is also part of it, to go to all these pilgrimages. And that's what I really do. And you will save me. And as it is said, the Vaishnavas say that you go here. Even Vedanta, not Vedanta, but Vedas say that there is a thing called Krama Mukti. You can go to the Swargaloka, different kind of lokas. So right now I don't feel good, but I have a feeling that if I just have devotion, you will take care of me. This is their philosophy for approaches towards fulfillment. And then there is a mixture, what is called samuchaya. Samuchaya means that, any one of these is not enough, but you've got to do a mixture of that. You think, and you do, and you pray, and somehow or the other you do yoga, and all of this will combine together to give you some kind of a moksha. This is what your thinking is. Advaita Vedanta says, I'm sorry to say, no, this isn't going to work. You have to see what is going on. You have to see the reality of it. Just by believing what you have to do and what you this, that, or the other, this is not really enough. But please listen to what we have to say. You can examine it if you want to. No question about that. You're free to do that. But if it doesn't work, and we don't think it's going to work, we have not seen it work, it won't work for you. But if you want to continue doing it, it's up to you. You are an independent person. But listen to what we have to say. So this, I will stop here. I think what I will do is now stop and open it up for your questions for the next few minutes, whenever time you have. And if we have enough time, we can do a second round of meditation, or we can postpone it to the third session. It's up to you. So I'll just stop with a prayer again. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om. Okay, so now I'm open for questions. If you have any. If you don't, then we'll do meditation. I see one hand back there. Yes, sir.
May not be relevant. You can postpone the question or you can skip it. It Vedanta is so powerful, or if Hinduism is so powerful, right? Why are so many people getting attracted to Buddhism? Or what is that is the appealing to them that we do not have?
Yeah, good question. It does not yield immediate results unless you are ready. It can yield immediate results if you are ready. Most people are not ready. So if most people are not ready, it does not yield immediate result. It requires some study, some thinking, some reflection, some analysis. And so the experience of joy is somewhat delayed if you're not ready. Whereas the other schools of thought are not as purist about study and this, that, or the other. They'll give you some immediate experience, and that is attractive to people. So that is one reason, I think, perhaps, why that is the case. Yeah. Question?
So, when it is said that you are not the doer and not the experiencer, but not the content, so what is not the experience?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite understand. I think, is there another mic? Hi, Meena. Yes.
They say you are not the karta or the bhokta. So, what is not the bhokta? What is not the experiencer?
Okay, now speak again, one more time.
Yeah, so it is said you are not the karta or the
I think that mic has never worked. Oh, thank you.
Hello, yeah. So it is.
That's okay. I think you can just stop.
Yeah, it is said you are not the karta or the bhokta.
Yeah.
So what is not the bhokta, like not the experience?
Okay, so Meena, that we will study as we go along. We haven't really quite reached that point yet, but since you asked, I'll. You're not the karta, not the bhokta. Bhoktritvam means the enjoyership or lack of is an imposition that we put on ourselves. And that imposition varies. So we are not always the bhokta. If you were always the bhokta, you will never disappear, that bhoktritvam will never disappear even during the night. But it does. And so the bhoktritvam means the enjoyership is also something that is imposed on you. It is not natural to you. But this topic needs to be taken up in more detail later on. We will go into that in more detail. Yeah. Yes, sir.
One of the things that you mentioned is, among all these things, that the mixture of items, but can we consider that as a preparatory things that where Vedanta as a final solution, but they can still help go prepare ourselves to the.
Yes. I think that is a very valid point, and the Mahatmas accept that. The Mahatmas say that you have to live a life. You cannot just completely disassociate yourself and become a sannyasi and say, I'm not going to, because I think I know what the truth is, I've been told that, so I'm not going to do. That's not the way what life is. You have to continue. It's exactly the message of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. You see, this is very interesting. What you were just saying was what Arjuna said was that I like what you're telling me. And you have been saying that for a long time, but now I think I'm ready to give up. And what I'm going to do is to just start meditating. I'm going to go to Rishikesh. And I don't want all this war business and so on and so forth. This is all bloodshed and so on. Krishna said, not so fast, Buster. No, it's not going to work. So he said, why not? He says, the reason is that you have been doing this for a long time. You cannot stop the train suddenly. So study while you are living. So in his case it was you have a duty to fulfill this war. You'll make things worse for yourself if you don't go through that. So they all the Mahatmas accepted that yes, some karma, some dharma, some artha is necessary. But they will slowly diminish if you are sincere about this. So this is one of the things that in Vedanta we say, that is, if you treat the study of Vedanta as a hobby, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Means, I am taking some pottery classes, and then I listen to Vedantic lectures, and for a while I'm very busy. There's a lot of things that I'm doing and so on and so forth. And yes, the study of the Bhagavad Gita is one of the things, but not the only thing in my life. Not going to work. You have to see what is the most important, and in the meantime, because of the needs of your life and so on, you continue doing it. I remember this discussion with Swami Dayanandji where I was just amazed, wow. And so I said, Swamiji, what's next for me? So he says, married, you've got a wife, you've got 2 children, you don't give up anything, and you don't need to give up anything. But if you're serious, make this as the most important thing in your life. And I followed that advice. That is important. If this was not important, then I would have not taken early retirement. I would not have studied. I don't do a lot of other unnecessary things. If I have to go to social get-together, I do it, but I don't want to. So yeah, the other things have to continue going. But even as a preparation for it, that also is okay. But the main thing has to be kept in your mind. Krishna. Yes, sir.
You said about bhakti being one of the things which, but if you have bhakti and complete surrender to Ishvara, that also is a way of basically coming to a clear understanding that Ishvara is the ultimate in all this, right? So, and then that's what you want to be like. So when you have bhakti in that form,
yeah, well, it's a very good question. I think you all heard that the bhakti should lead to this, and so the answer to that is bhakti is still an incomplete journey. In the sense, you're still keeping Ishvara separate from yourself. Not true. You are denying the presence of Ishvara as yourself. So then the answer to that is that no, I'm not denying Ishvara as myself because I recognize Ishvara in my life, and so I'm not denying that. Yes, you are, because you're keeping alive the sense of limitedness, since there is no limitedness. It is exactly like saying, for a room space, I think I like the total space, and one of these days I will become total space. I will merge with it. So I am praying, the room space person says, I am praying that I will. All that is incomplete. You are not going to be total space, you are total space. So to say that bhakti is also incomplete, because you have to see I am. This is what Tattvamasi is. That Ishvara is not different from me. I am not different from Ishvara. It's the same thing. This has to be done. And it will be done. So in that manner, bhakti also is one of the finest steps possible, but still a step, not the final one. Anyway, we'll discuss this more. Yes?
In that concept, Vijayji, Maharishi Raman still continue surrendering Arunachala and doing his bhakti to Arunachala.
So, a lot of that is for the people that follow him. He is done. But bhakti is a very important sadhana. And if he gives that up, the same thing is true. I mean, this fact is pointed out in the life of Adi Shankara. And this fact is practiced by all of our acharyas of the sampradaya, Swami Chinmayananji, Swami Dayanandji. So, for example, in our ashram at Sailorsburg, if you go, there is a prayer for Dakshinamurti every morning. It takes the Abhishekha and so on and so forth and chanting. I also do that in my own mind, in my own home. So that bhakti has to continue for two reasons. Okay? One is that you are not completely done yet. One person, any one person. And until one is completely done in terms of becoming a Jivan Mukta, achieving Jivan Mukti, you have to have bhakti. Even after achieving Jivan Mukti, you cannot give it because of you'll set a wrong example for others. So for that reasons also. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you were able to get a better understanding when you went back to a book written in Hindi by Swami Akana. So does that mean that in the US, when we teach the youngsters Sanskrit slokas and other verses, not in the native language, when I say native language, they are more comfortable in English, not in Sanskrit or Kannada or Tamil or anything like that. So, is that the correct way of teaching them, or should it be something else, or should we develop or conceive slokas in English, or should we conceive hymns in English so that they are more comfortable and they are able to follow the Hindu practices or Sanatana?
Okay, good question. I think everybody heard that. So the answer to that is no, I wouldn't say that. Because even in Hindi, when I studied Swami Akhandananda's and so on, it's only the grammar that is in Hindi. But the words are all in Sanskrit. There is no other language that can come close to describing the subtlety of this except in Sanskrit. You have to learn Sanskrit words. Absolutely pakka. The grammar may be different. What I was talking about was that the Sanskrit grammar kept me from the speed with which I was absorbing. So the Hindi became easy. Also, I think that I really appreciate the transcription of Swami Akhandananda's books. I have not seen it anywhere where his way of expressing as a orator, as a describer of things, was faithfully done in the text. So when I read Swamiji's books, it's like he's right there in front of me, talking, which is very phenomenal. So that can be done in English. I don't deny that. But the words to describe Adhyatma Yoga is very difficult to describe in anything else. You can approximate it, but it will fall short. So that's what I would say. Yes, you can teach in English, but the use of, if you want to do this, other things you can do in English, but this Atma Vidya is, because the Vidya is communicated by Ishvara also in Sanskrit. The original word language also is in Sanskrit, it's alone. That cannot be messed around with. Yes, Raj?
In the context that you just now mentioned for English, etc., is it more accurate, or rather, is it accurate to say that the Yogananda Paramahamsa, who brought yoga-based practices, which are more based on doing, is that more amenable to learning first instead of our approach of
Perhaps, yes, I would say, yeah, because the doership is more prevalent in our society, that we are going to do something. We'll discuss this in more detail. The very concept, how can knowledge help me, is very alien to most people. They want to know, what do I do to be happy? And so to have an approach of yoga, it actually makes sense. So in that sense, the yoga, even though we don't think that's the final answer, is a reasonable way to start. So I would grant that Paramahansa's was reasonable to the West, because the Western society is much more oriented towards doing, accomplishing, etc. Yes, I would say that. Yes.
You mentioned about how the importance of that. What the rituals that are prescribed for grihasthas to be performed?
So that's also an important thing. In the actually, I'm going to talk in much more detail about this probably in the very next session. So let's postpone giving an answer to that particular, but I'll give a much more detailed answer to that. Okay? Just one.
Quick question on terminology. You said that Akhandandaji does not like the word consciousness. Is that something based on a favorite terminology?
No, I wouldn't. He doesn't even use that term because he's a Hindi-speaking person, so he wouldn't say that. What I'm saying is that to me, the word jnanam is much more indicative of the reality of Chit Swarupam than consciousness. To me. Because this is a very common mistake that we can make, is that it looks like that I have certain qualities. This is not a quality. So to distinguish between Swarupa and Swabhava, the use of the word jnanam as opposed to consciousness, which is in English, or awareness, I became sensitive to it when I started reading Swami Akhandananda's books. But if you look at Swami Dayanandaji's and Swami Chinmanandaji's also, they all use the word awareness because they have to communicate it with, if you come and saying jnanam, it's not as they don't know, but they have chosen the word consciousness as a way to communicate to the audience that they are talking to. Yeah. One final question. Yes, sir.
Consciousness has got opposite unconsciousness. Jnanam has nothing.
That's exactly right. You got it. Totally right. That's exactly what I mean by the quality. Because a quality you can say red rose. The redness of the rose can go, but the rose is still there. So similarly, if you say consciousness as a quality, one can visualize that the consciousness goes as you become, you fall down and you lose so-called consciousness. You don't lose consciousness, your body does not reflect consciousness. That's all that happens. So yes, that's a reasonable example.
So probably awareness also is not reaching to the exact meaning of jnana, probably.
Both of them are the same. Awareness and consciousness, I think people use alternatively. So yeah, there's no difference between them. But they are very different from the word jnanam. And even jnanam also has to be interpreted because jnanam means worldly knowledge. It's not worldly knowledge. We'll distinguish that. We haven't come to that point yet. So, all right. So we will now break for lunch and we will see you at 2 o'clock? 2 o'clock.